Too many times than I can count, and I can count pretty high. I've seen the same old possession song and dance, with a spitting and cursing girl tied to a bed and a devout but flawed priest chanting over her. But every now and then, a possession film comes along and tells a different kind of story. Let's sip some pea soup and check out number 4 on the Best in Horror Countdown 2023 through 2024. This potent possession flick from Argentina is full of scenes that you'll never forget and approaches possession in a brand new way. At number 4 is When Evil Lurks, aka Cuando ACECHA la MALDAD. It was released on October 27th, 2023 and is streaming on Shudder from IFC Films. It's directed and written by Demián Rugna. When a possessed man is found in an impoverished farmhouse, a pair of brothers, Pedro and Jimmy, played by Ezequiel Rodriguez and Demián Solomon, respectively, try to dispose of the body outside of their homeland, but end up losing the body along the way. Believing that they have gone far enough to remove the rotten or cursed body, they return home to find out that the demon infestation has followed them. Attempting to save his children, Pedro, with Jimmy in tow, race to evade the pervasive infestation that relentlessly follows them. Demián Rugna delivered a horrifying interdimensional ghost story with his previous film, Terrified, and follows it up with something even more horrifying to endure. From the very beginning of When Evil Lurks, there's a pervasive sense of ultimate dread, reminiscent of Brian Bertino's The Dark and the Wicked. Rugna delivers a film that will make you feel like you are crawling through the mire of the worst of human desperation. At times, it's a somewhat lighthearted farce as Pedro and Jimmy make all sorts of mistakes in trying to rid their village of the evil, bumbling through one muck-up after another. These two protagonists are not the sharpest pitchforks in the barn. It's sort of a comedy of errors at the beginning, but because those afflicted with the evil look so horrifying, do such heinous things, and the situation is so dire, it's really hard to laugh. Much like Terrified, which was sort of one story, but could easily be the tale of 3 different experiences going into 3 different haunted houses, so it plays out sort of like an anthology. When Evil Lurks consists of one terrifying sequence stacked over another with growing intensity. Each one involves the way this demonic plague spreads throughout the countryside. Some are foreboding, such as the scene of the farmer discovering one of his sheep to be possessed, and some are downright shocking, as with the most memorable scene of the film involving the family dog and a small child. No matter if it's a bombastic or whispering shock, When Evil Lurks is ridden with one effective scene after another, involving disturbing violence and palpable dread. Added to the horror are some gnarly scenes of gore and disturbing imagery. The initial possessed man is reminiscent of the gluttony corpse from Seven, overweight and riddled with sores so much to the point where he can hardly move. It's a terrifying sight, and one of the most gruesome things you'll take away from this movie. But that's just the beginning of the wonderful blood and gore effects on display. Some are subtle things, like mounds of hair being pulled from someone's throat, while others are more in your face, like a possessed woman chewing on the body of her child while walking down a dark road. All of them chilling and offering up gore you may have seen before in other films, but never this harrowing. The 2 leads, Ezequiel Rodriguez and Demián Solomon, present a wonderful ground-level way of experiencing these horrors. They know very little about this demonic plague, so they come into it with inexperience and ignorance. This forces other characters in the know, like the local bruja, to explain the 7 rules to dealing with these demons known as the Rotten. These rules, number 1, do not use electric lights. For the shadows they cast, draw them in. Number 2, stay away from animals. Number 3, do them no harm. Number 4, take nothing close to them, for they are attached to it. Number 5, never say the devil's name, for that calls them. Number 6, never use a gun. Number 7, do not fear death, for if you fear a hole, it will open under your feet. There's been a lot of thought put into the lore behind these possessions, so one might think that this horrific tale Demián Rugna is telling may only be the first chapter. With the amount of raw human emotion and soul-searing moments of sheer horror he's able to capture in this single movie, an elaboration of this world would be nothing but a gift for horror fans all over. Treat yourself with Rugna's latest horror masterpiece. He's an Argentinian director who deserves more notice, as is When Evil Lurks, one hell of a strong deep dive into dread-filled horror. Just missing the main list this year is the possession flick from Australia. Still, it bears mentioning, so that's what I'm doing here. The Demon Disorder was released on September 2nd, 2024, and is streaming on Shudder. It's directed by Stephen Boyle and written by Stephen Boyle and Toby Osborne. Three brothers, Philip, played by Charles Cotier, Jake, played by Dirk Hunter, and Graham, played by Christian Willis, are all three dealing with the recent death of their father George, played by The Fringe's John Noble, in their own ways. While Jake has numbed himself with alcohol, and Graham has left their childhood home and has thrown himself into his work at the car garage, Philip is showing the same signs of a sickness that ended up killing their father. The problem is that George didn't die by natural means. George seems to have succumbed to a demonic possession that had rotted him from the inside out, transforming his body into a horror unimaginable. Fearing Philip is next to succumb to the infernal illness, the brothers do everything they can do to overcome this sickness and destroy it by any means necessary. The Demon Disorder is a grisly little movie, top to bottom, from the imposing opening moments to the ballsy, in-your-face ending. This is a film that doesn't care how ugly it gets. It's body horror at its most grisly, as it doesn't just involve the distortion and changing of one's body, but the torment that goes along with it. Per usual with the best body horror, metaphor is ripe in The Demon Disorder, and it comes in the form of the illness representing the negative aspects that is passed on from parent to child. While we get to see some tender moments in flashback, it's clear that George's mental health is in deterioration. He's shown to be a stern father, often abusive, and the monster in this film is the fear these three sons have that those negative aspects, physically and mentally, will be passed down to them. This is going to be a film that speaks to anyone who has lost a family member to dementia or inherited a mental or physical issue genetically. These are serious issues, and most of the time, through the film, they are treated as such. But then again, the main flaw with The Demon Disorder is that tonally it's all over the place. There are times when the film is deathly serious with the material, and then something rather goofy happens. The brothers' reactions to the crazy body horror going on range from absolute shock and terror to goofy antics as the demon painfully spurts from the side of one of the infected brothers and slithers across the floor, then up the wall and across the ceiling, while the three of them chase it around the room like Mo, Larry, and Curly. There are many times where moments that could resonate on a very deep level are kneecapped by a comedic remark or a goofy reaction. This is an Australian film, and at times the film reminded me of some of the earlier films of Peter Jackson, like Bad Taste and Dead Alive, but then again, the father and son themes really contradict the lighter tones. It left me not really knowing how to feel. As far as goppy gore, The Demon Disorder is full to the brim and beyond with it. From demons bursting from bodies, to tumors, to slug-like slither creatures, to a fully formed demon, at the end, there's a lot to love about the practical effects going on here. The Demon Disorder simply doesn't hold back, and if your taste turns to the gorier side, this one's going to be your cup of innards. So while the tone is fluid and sometimes contradictory, the gore is potent as all get out. I liked the comedic antics of the three brothers, but they were also able to convey a story with some very touching moments. Plus, it's always great to see John Noble in action. He's such a great actor. The Demon Disorder may not be the most even of watches. At times it's quite a mess, but still there's a lot of good sloshing around in this movie. Once again and always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel, and ring that bell for notifications.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're